Hey everybody, it's Melanie.
Hi.
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 What are your names?
Oh, I'm Charlie.
I'm Michael.
He's not driving! We're actually going to take the train. I'm so excited to take the train again. I haven't taken the train since Japan. Well, I guess that's not true. We took the train last night, but we were all like so dead tired that nobody wanted to video that.
Not right now.
So we are hopping on the train. We are in Boston now. We are going to Salem for the day. Yes! Always wanted to go to Salem. And we're gonna do some stuff. We're meeting up with Charlie's friend.
Rory Raven.
And he's gonna give us a tour. And we're gonna ask him if he minds us videoing some of that. And hopefully we'll get some really great footage for you guys. And we'll see you. Maybe we'll film some of the train.
Yeah, we might film on the train.
We might film some of the train for you. Oh, what is my hair doing? Okay, time to stop for now. We managed to get a seat on the double-decker train and we're on the top floor. So we're just sitting here. And waiting for the train to go. We made it to Salem! Woo!
This is Roger Conant. He's the founder of Salem. Roger Conant's a Puritan. Salem is founded by Puritans. Now, one of the cherished myths in American history is that we're founded on religious freedom, the right to follow whatever religion you want. Totally wrong. Right. We were basically founded on the right to be Puritans. Puritans are a kind of reformer sect for the Church of England. They think that the Church of England has become too corrupt, too Catholic, and they want to purify the church by the Puritans. So their plan is to split off, set up a pure Bible commonwealth, a theocracy run by strict Christian principles. They're going to go to the New World to do this, and then corrupt old Europe will see what they're doing in the New World, and corrupt old Europe will get its act together and straighten everything out. So it's all very well to want to go to the New World and start a Bible commonwealth and then start over and do it right, but how do you pay for that? What a lot of Puritans did is what people still do today, is they get a corporation to underwrite the venture. So this one group who settled Salem, they go to the Dorchester Company, and the Dorchester Company has their guy Roger Conant kind of lead the colony. Dorchester Company has some interest here in New England. They come over here, underwritten by the Dorchester Company, to set up a fishing village a little further north from here. It doesn't go very well. They hear about a spot further down south, where the fishing is a little bit better. It's got a better harbor. Roger Conant moves his people down to this place called Namkeeg, which is the old Indian name. And he and his people settle in Namkeeg, which is present-day Salem.
Okay.
Which is why you still see like old factories called the old Namkeeg Company.
I never saw a few of those.
The old, there's a Namkeeg, I'll point out the Namkeeg block down the way. It's the old name for Salem. But just like today, so when they settle Salem, you need to start paying back the loan you've gotten from the Dorchester Company. They go into fishing, they send back salt cod to feed the Royal Navy, they start cutting down all the trees and sending to England any board that was over 2 feet wide had to, by law, go back to England to build the Royal Navy. In one of the houses here, there's a table built out of boards that are more than 2 feet wide, so it's a totally illegal
Scandalous.
table. Scandalous. But just like today, companies go out of business and other companies buy up their stuff. Dorchester Company goes out of business. Their interests get bought by another group called the New England Company. The New England Company sends another guy over here named John Endicott in 1630. He shows up and says, I'm the new guy in town, I'm the new company man, I'm in charge. And Roger Conan seems to be pretty okay with this. When Endicott gets here in 1630, Salem's not doing really well. There's about 80 people living here at this point. There's been, disease and problems and harsh winters. And I think Roger Conan's kind of willing to just hand the reins over, like, fine, your problem now. So John Endicott takes over, and Roger Conan settles into this kind of elder statesman kind of persona or position. People come to him for advice and guidance, even though he's not the official leader of the colony anymore. And Salem starts to flourish. The one really significant thing that John Endicott does is he changes the name of the settlement from Namkeek to Salem, coming from Hebrew, shalom, for peace.
Okay.
Roger Conan dies in the 1670s, a good 20 years before the witch trials, so we have no idea what he would have thought of the witch trials in the city called Peace that he founded. So people always think this is a witch because it's right in front of the Witch Museum, and it's got the classic look. It's the tall hat and the big cloak. But no, it's Roger Conan. And that image of the witch, I always think, comes from Puritan imagery. That's a classic Puritan kind of get-up. The pointy hat, the big black cloak. That's the common image that we have of what Puritans were like. And that's why we think that's what witches look like, because they come out of that Puritan belief. This is the Pingree Mansion. There's a guy named Samuel McIntyre who was the architect of the Rich and Famous. This is one of his mansions. And in 1830, it was lived in by a guy named Captain Joseph White, who was a very well-off Salem merchant. Salem made a lot of money privateering during the Revolution, also made a lot of money in trade before and after the Revolution. And Captain Joseph White was this kind of mean, tight-fisted old sinner. There wasn't a lot of slave trading in Salem. There was a little bit, and he was usually involved in it. So he made himself quite a bit of money, and by the 1830s, by 1830, he was he was about 80 or so years old. Lived with, he was unmarried, widowed, I think. Lived with a servant who was a niece, and a couple of other sort of semi-relatives here in the house. And he was rumored to be fabulously rich, and they said that he had this, piles and stacks of money in the sea chest at the end of his bed. And then in April 1830, the maid comes upstairs to wake him up and finds that he's dead in his bed. He's been beaten and he's been stabbed. They find that he'd been hit with a bludgeon to render him unconscious, and then stabbed 13 times in his sleep. And the chest is open.
Well, that's unlucky.
And I mean, somebody really wanted to make sure this guy was gone. I mean, he stabbed somebody 13 times. You want to remove him from the planet. So somebody realizes that a back window is open, and there's a board laying up against the back window to sort of provide easy access. So a hue and cry goes out to find the murderer. And 1830, there isn't an organized police force in Salem, so they put together a committee of vigilance, basically vigilantes who are supposed to go out and question anybody they feel like, and get justice for the captain by any means necessary. And they eventually uncover this weird conspiracy. There are at least 4 people involved in this plot. It's the servant is his niece, and it's her son, or her son-in-law, gets this idea that if the captain dies without a will, that the estate just gets divided up among the relatives. He, being a relative, figures if he dies, I get money. So he and his brother, the Knapp brothers, K-N-A-P-P, decide that they'll kill the old man so they can inherit a portion of the estate. This is Frank and Joe Knapp, the 2 guys. They don't have the nerve to do it themselves. They get this local ruffian named Richard Crowninshield to do it. Richard Crowninshield is, mad, bad, and dangerous to know. This is the guy who, deflowers a virgin and writes a poem about it. He's that guy. He's kind of up for anything. So they pay him, or they're going to pay him, to kill the old man. So their plot is that one night, one of the Knapp brothers sneaks into the bedroom and is supposed to steal the will. When they check, there's no sex on it, but there is a will. So they're going to destroy the will. So they take the will off and destroy it. Step one. So now the guy has to die. Now they destroyed the will, he has to die. So they get Richard Crowninshield to do this. Richard Crowninshield is a machinist by trade, so he makes his own bludgeon to do this with, which he weights with lead, so it's really deadly. So they destroy the will. They leave a back window open with a board up against it, allowing Richard to get into the house. He enters the house one night, bludgeons the old man, and stabs him to death in his bed, and flees the scene. So the two Knapp brothers, Richard Crowninshield is arrested along with his brother Benjamin. So two sets of brothers, the Knapps and the Crowninshields, both get arrested. Richard Crowninshield is going to be tried and hanged. It's a capital offense. But he hangs himself in his cell at the jail to escape punishment. But this creates a problem because the plan had been to charge him as the murderer and then charge the other brothers, the Knapp brothers and his brother Benjamin, as accessories. But he's never tried, he's never convicted. If you don't convict somebody of the murder, you can't charge anybody else as accessories, according to the law at the time. But they bring in Daniel Webster from Boston to prosecute the case. He's a total wizard in the courtroom. He convinces the jury that the other brothers were more involved than they really were. He convinces them that the Knapp brothers are still on the scene. They're still in close proximity and then can be charged as accessories, even though they're over on the common, where we just were a few minutes ago. He convinces them that they're sort of more closely involved. Who wins the death penalty for the Knapp brothers. They're both hanged. And then the other brother, Benjamin Crowninshield, they let him go. He's acquitted because at this point, the old man has been killed. Richard Crowninshield has hanged himself in his cell. The two Knapp brothers have both been hanged. I think people are just sort of like burned out and like, forget it. Now people have died. Let this guy go. So this ends up being Salem's kind of most famous murder. And kind of like with the witch trials, people don't want to talk about it afterwards. This happens in 1830, and in the 1950s, people in town didn't want to talk about this.